Chosen one, listen carefully. Final warning. God says, someone is watching your house. This is not a drill. Something shocking will happen tonight, and if you ignore this, it will be too late. Open this immediately before tonight, 11:59 p.m. Please don't skip God. This is not a random message. This is not coincidence. This is not entertainment. Heaven has been trying to get your attention all day. You felt it, didn't you? That strange pause in your spirit. That moment when everything went quiet around you. That sudden heaviness when you looked at your door, your window, your phone screen. You brushed it off. You told yourself you were overthinking. But you are not overthinking. God is speaking. And through the authority of Archangel Michael, a protective alarm has been released over your house tonight. There is a presence around your dwelling. Not just physical, but spiritual. A watcher. An observer. A silent evaluator of your vulnerability. And this message reached you before 11:59 p.m. for a reason. Because after that moment, something shifts. Heaven works with timing. The enemy also works with timing. And tonight, there is a narrow window. You have been under unusual pressure lately. Small conflicts, strange dreams, electrical disturbances, sudden fear at night for no reason. These are not accidents. They are signals. Signals that something has been circling, waiting for an open door, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. But here is the shocking truth. It is not watching to destroy your house. It is watching because of what is inside you. You carry something rare. A calling. A future. A breakthrough that threatens darkness. And when destiny sits inside the house, that house becomes a target. Archangel Michael does not move without purpose. And tonight, his sword is drawn, not in panic but in protection. You must understand something critical. Fear is the bait. If you panic, you create cracks. If you ignore, you create access. But if you stand in authority, you activate divine security. This is why this is urgent. Before 11:59 p.m., you must shift the atmosphere of your home. Not by screaming, not by paranoia, but by awareness. Walk through your house tonight with intention. Pray over your doors. Speak life over your windows. Declare peace in every room. Not because something evil is stronger, but because you are being reminded of your authority. Something shocking will try to happen tonight. Maybe it will be a confrontation. Maybe a phone call. Maybe a sudden revelation about someone close to you. Maybe an exposure. But it will not succeed in harming you. It will expose what has been hidden. There is someone who has been observing you closely. Not necessarily standing outside with binoculars. It could be someone studying your habits, watching your routine, monitoring your emotional reactions, waiting for a weak moment. And God is saying, the watcher will be revealed. Tonight shifts surveillance into exposure. But here is where many people fail. They ignore the warning. They treat divine urgency like another notification. Do not scroll this away. This message intercepted something. Archangel Michael stands at the perimeter of your home right now, not as a symbol, but as an assignment. Protection hath been dispatched because purpose is inside your walls. But heaven responds to agreement. If you agree with fear, you empower fear. If you agree with faith, you empower protection. So here is what you must do before 11:59 p.m. Turn off unnecessary noise. Lower distractions. Stand in the center of your home. Say this out loud: God, I welcome your protection. Every hidden watcher is exposed. Every plan against my house is canceled. I stand under divine authority. Say it slowly. Say it with calm confidence. Because the shocking event tonight is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prove something. It will prove that God warned you in advance. And when it happens, you will remember this moment. You will remember that heaven spoke first. The enemy hates when you are informed. Most attacks succeed because people are unaware. But you are aware now. And awareness activates angels. Archangel Michael is not assigned randomly. He guards purpose. He defends destiny. And when he shows up in a message like this, it means something about your future is too valuable to lose. Tonight is not about fear. It is about exposure. It is about a shift. It is about revealing who has been watching and why. Stay spiritually alert. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Because when the clock approaches 11:59 p.m., something will try to manifest. But instead of panic, you will feel confirmation. Instead of chaos, you will see clarity. Instead of danger, you will witness divine interruption. This is your final warning, but it is also your divine advantage. Heaven does not shout without reason. And you did not hear this by accident. The next moments will reveal why. Faithful one, breathe slowly and listen with discernment. What I am about to reveal is not meant to create panic inside you, but precision. When God releases a final warning, it is never to terrify his child. It is to position them ahead of what is coming. Tonight carries a spiritual weight because something that has been hidden in the shadows is losing permission to remain there. The watcher around your house is not comfortable anymore. The silence that surrounded you is about to crack. You may have noticed subtle patterns over the past few weeks. A feeling of being evaluated. Conversations that felt slightly off. Someone asking too many specific questions about your schedule, your finances, your plans. At first it seemed harmless. But spiritually, there has been observation. Not all watching is physical. Some watching is strategic. Some watching waits for the right hour. And tonight is that hour. But here is the mystery. The shocking thing that will happen is not an attack succeeding. It is a plan collapsing. Something that was carefully calculated around you will begin to unravel. You may receive unexpected information. You may see someone's true intentions exposed through their own words. You may catch an inconsistency that opens your eyes. What was subtle will become obvious. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of revelation, not only protection. When he is assigned, deception cannot breathe for long. The sword he carries does not only defend, it separates truth from lies. And in your life, separation is happening. There hath been someone studying your vulnerability. They thought you were unaware. They assumed your silence meant weakness. They misjudged your kindness as naivety. But heaven saw everything, and God is not allowing hidden agendas to move past midnight without confrontation. This is why the timing is before 11:59 p.m. Midnight represents transition. It represents a legal shift in the spiritual realm. And before that clock turns, exposure must begin. You are being positioned on the side of awareness so that when something surfaces, you are not shaken. Do not react emotionally tonight. Observe. Discern. Listen more than you speak. If something unusual happens, remain calm. The power is not in dramatic response. The power is in composed authority. And understand this clearly, not every watcher stands outside your home. Some watchers are within your circle. Some have access through conversation. Some watch your reactions to test your strength. But the moment God announces a final warning, the testing phase ends. You are stepping into clarity. There is a reason this message found you specifically. Thousands scroll past spiritual alerts every day. But you paused. That means your spirit recognized something. That pause was divine alignment. And because you stopped, you are ahead. Tonight you must also guard your thoughts. The enemy will attempt to whisper exaggerations. You will try to turn awareness into anxiety. Do not allow that. Awareness is strength. Anxiety is surrender. You are not surrendering. Walk through your house again in your spirit. Visualize light in every corner. Picture Archangel Michael stationed at every entrance. Not because you are afraid, but because you are confident in divine protection. This is partnership. Heaven moves when you agree. Something shocking will happen. Yes. But shocking does not mean destructive. It means unexpected. It means revealing. It means the truth will interrupt comfort. If a message comes tonight that feels strange, pay attention. If someone reacts defensively without reason, notice it. If technology glitches at a strange moment, stay observant. Patterns expose themselves when the hour arrives. And let me speak directly to your heart right now. You are not paranoid. You are prepared. There is a difference. God does not warn his children to make them restless. He warns them to make them ready. Also, this is important. When this revelation unfolds, do not isolate yourself in silence. Share this message with someone you trust. Not to spread fear, but to spread awareness. If this word resonates with your spirit, let others know that heaven still speaks. Like this video, comment what you are feeling, and subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to every warning and every blessing that follows. When you engage, you strengthen this mission of discernment. There are others who need to hear this before their midnight moment arrives. And as you continue listening, prepare yourself. Because what is about to be uncovered is connected to something bigger than you expected. Hold on, because the layer beneath this revelation goes deeper than simple observation. The next unfolding will show you why this warning had to be urgent, and why tonight is only the beginning of a much larger exposure. Beloved soul, the atmosphere around your house is shifting even as you listen to this. There is a spiritual tension in the air tonight because something that has been permitted to observe you is about to lose access. When God says this is a final warning, he is not exaggerating. Final means a boundary has been drawn. Final means heaven has decided that what was tolerated will no longer be allowed to linger. The watcher around your house thought time was on their side. They believed silence meant safety. They assumed their careful distance would keep them hidden. But what they did not understand is that God watches the watchers. Nothing studies you without being studied first by heaven. This is where Archangel Michael steps into the picture with divine authority. He is not sent for small disturbances. He is assigned when destiny is at stake, and your destiny has entered a sensitive phase. You are approaching a breakthrough that will change your environment, your influence, and your direction. Whenever breakthrough gets close, resistance tries to gather information. The shocking event tonight is connected to information. Something that was being collected about you will be interrupted. Something that was being monitored will malfunction. There will be a disruption in a pattern that someone depended on. It could manifest through exposure and conversation. It could be a sudden confession. It could be a mistake made by the one who thought they were careful. It may even be an inner revelation where God opens your eyes and you suddenly understand who has not been aligned with your well-being. Do not underestimate inner revelation. Sometimes the most shocking thing is clarity. For weeks, maybe even months, there has been subtle spiritual surveillance. Not in a dramatic way, but in calculated observation. Someone paying attention to your habits. Someone analyzing your routines. Someone trying to predict your next move. But tonight, prediction fails. Why tonight? Because midnight marks a spiritual checkpoint. It is a line between what was allowed and what is permitted going forward. Before 11:59 p.m., heaven is giving you awareness so that when the line is crossed, you stand on the protected side of it. Archangel Michael's presence signals enforcement. Imagine a perimeter drone around your house, not with fear, but with authority. The energy of exposure is stronger than the energy of secrecy. The light is pressing against the shadows. And here is something deeper that many would not expect. The watcher is nervous. The one observing has sensed a shift. They have felt something changing. They may even attempt to act normal tonight, to blend in, to avoid suspicion. But nervous energy reveals itself. Pay attention to unusual urgency from others. Notice if someone tries to rush you into decisions. Be aware if someone suddenly seeks extra information about your plans. The shocking moment may come disguised as ordinary interaction, but your spirit will recognize it. You must remain steady. God did not send this message so you would accuse randomly. He sent it so you would discern wisely. Discernment is calm. Discernment is patient. Discernment listens carefully and moves strategically. This is not about confronting anyone tonight. It is about watching who reveals themselves under pressure. When exposure begins, people talk too much. They over-explain. They contradict themselves. They reveal their own agenda without realizing it. And when it happens, do not panic. Remember this message. Remember that you were told beforehand. That is your confirmation that God is protecting you, not surprising you. There is also a spiritual dimension you must understand. Sometimes watchers are not only people. Sometimes they are assignments of distraction. Assignments sent to drain your focus. If you suddenly feel tempted to argue, to defend yourself aggressively, to spiral into suspicion, pause. That is not from God. Archangel Michael defends through strength, not chaos. Stand firm in quiet confidence. Pray softly. Keep your mind clear. If something unusual happens before midnight, respond with peace. Peace is your shield tonight. And now hear this carefully. You were chosen to receive this warning because you are not average. Your life carries weight in the spiritual realm. Your obedience tonight is more powerful than you realize. The moment you agree with God's protection, something in the unseen realm shifts in your favor. Type in the comments, "I stand under divine protection," if this message is aligning with your spirit. Blessing code 314 is being released over your house tonight. As you declare that, know that heaven is sealing your agreement. The clock is still moving. The atmosphere is still adjusting. And what was meant to shock you will instead strengthen you. If this revelation stirred something inside you, understand that this message is not just about your house. It is about guarding the destiny inside it. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping light reach homes before their midnight hour. God says in Malachi 3:10, "Bring the whole tithe and see if I will not open the windows of heaven." This is that window. As you act, you partner with heaven's warning system. Your seed becomes oil that keeps this lamp burning for others. Move with obedience. Activate your support. And watch how protection multiplies over your own household. Warrior of light, Something is tightening in the spirit realm, and you can feel it. The air around your house may seem normal to the natural eye, but spiritually, a line has been drawn. After the declaration you made, after you aligned yourself with divine protection, a reaction began. Because whenever God exposes what is hidden, there is always movement in the unseen before there is evidence in the visible. Tonight is not random. It is strategic. The watcher who had been observing your house did not expect resistance. They expected routine. They expected you to move through this evening unaware, distracted, passive. But instead, you became alert. And that alertness disrupted something. Here is what many do not understand. When heaven sends a warning, it is not because evil is stronger. It is because your promotion is closer than you realize. You are approaching a shift in your life that requires your circle to be purified. Not everyone who watches you celebrates you. Not everyone who studies you supports you. There has been a quiet evaluation happening around you. Someone hath been measuring your reactions, measuring your consistency, measuring your emotional stability. Why? Because access requires understanding, and they were trying to understand you well enough to predict you. But what they miscalculated is divine interruption. Archangel Michael does not guard passive destinies. He guards advancing ones. And your life is advancing into something new. You may not see the full picture yet, but the spiritual realm does. The closer you get to breakthrough, the more observation increases. Not because you are weak, but because you are valuable. Something shocking will unfold tonight, but it may not look dramatic. It may look subtle. It could be a slip of the tongue, a sudden contradiction, an unexpected tension, a strange timing of communication. What makes it shocking is not the volume of the event, but the clarity it brings. You will subtly connect dots. You will suddenly remember past moments that did not make sense. You will suddenly realize patterns that were too consistent to be coincidence. And when that realization hits you, it will feel like a veil lifting. Do not ignore that moment. That moment is the reason this message reached you. The enemy works best when patterns go unnoticed. But tonight, patterns are being highlighted. The one who thought they were watching you quietly may begin to act differently under spiritual pressure. Exposure creates discomfort, and discomfort produces mistakes. Remain calm. You do not need to confront immediately. You do not need to announce what you notice. Sometimes the most powerful move is silent awareness. When someone realizes you see clearly, their power weakens automatically. There is also another layer to this warning. The house mentioned is not just walls and doors. It represents your inner house, your mind, your peace, your emotional structure. Someone hath been studying not only your physical routine but also your emotional triggers. Watching what makes you anxious. Watching what discourages you. Watching what excites you. What? Because if someone understands your emotional pattern, they believe they can influence your decisions. But here is the shift. Tonight, your emotional stability becomes your defense. If something strange happens, do not react with fear. If something unsettling is revealed, do not let it shake your identity. The more grounded you remain, the more powerless the watcher becomes. Archangel Michael's presence around your house signals that protection is not only external, it is internal. Your thoughts are being guarded. Your reactions are being strengthened. You are not alone in this awareness. And here is a truth that may surprise you. The watcher may not even realize they are being used by darkness. Some people observe out of jealousy. Some observe out of insecurity. Some observe out of curiosity that turned unhealthy. But intention does not override impact, and God will not allow hidden observation to grow into manipulation. Before the clock crosses into a new day, something will shift. You may feel a sudden peace that replaces tension. That is confirmation. You may witness a small but clear sign that someone is exposed. That is confirmation. You may simply feel an inner certainty about who to trust and who to distance yourself from. That is confirmation. Trust that clarity. The reason this message is urgent is because timing matters. Midnight closes doors, and God wanted you positioned correctly before that closure. After tonight, dynamics will change. Conversations will feel different. Access will feel restricted. You will sense a boundary where there was once openness. That is not loss. That is protection. Your house is entering a guarded season. Not isolated, but filtered. Not fearful, but discerning. And as this unfolds, remember something deeply important. You were warned because you are favored. God does not whisper urgent instructions to those he has abandoned. He speaks urgently to those he intends to preserve. So stand steady. Observe wisely. Keep your spirit anchored. Because what is being exposed tonight is only the beginning of a larger cleansing that will prepare your life for something greater than you imagined. Precious one, the tension you have been sensing is not your imagination. It is the sound of something hidden losing stability. As the night deepens, the spiritual atmosphere around your house is responding to the authority you activated. When you stood in agreement with God's protection, a legal shift occurred. What once had silent permission to observe you is now under restriction. And when restriction begins, reactions follow. You may notice subtle agitation in someone connected to you. An unusual tone. A sudden attempt to gather reassurance. Or perhaps a strange silence where there was once casual engagement. These are not coincidences. When exposure approaches, behavior adjusts. The shocking thing that will happen tonight is connected to a revelation of motive. Motive is more powerful than action. Actions can be mastered. Motives eventually surface. And someone's motive concerning you has not been pure. This does not mean dramatic confrontation. It means illumination. You have been stepping into a new level of growth. Your thinking has matured. Your discernment has sharpened. Your spiritual awareness has expanded. And not everyone around you is comfortable with that. Growth creates distance between you and those who benefited from your previous level of awareness. Someone had been studying you not to celebrate your progress, but to measure how to remain relevant in your life. They have been watching your house, your space, your routines, your emotional responses, to determine how much access they still have. But tonight, access is being reevaluated by heaven. Archangel Michael stands not only as a protector but as an enforcer of divine boundaries. His presence signals that a season of open access is closing, and when heaven closes a door, no manipulation can reopen it. You might experience a sudden realization this evening. It could come through a memory resurfacing, a conversation replaying in your mind with new clarity. Words that once sounded harmless will suddenly reveal hidden intent. That moment will feel shocking, not because it is loud, but because it is clear. Clarity can feel like lightning. It strikes quickly and leaves illumination behind. Do not suppress that clarity. Do not talk yourself out of it. Many people ignore divine revelation because it disrupts comfort. But comfort that hides truth is not protection. Truth that disrupts comfort is freedom. There has been an attempt to subtly influence your direction. Perhaps small suggestions planted over time. Subtle discouragement disguised as concern. Questions that seemed supportive but carried doubt underneath. These are strategies of observation combined with influence. But here is what the watcher did not anticipate. Your alignment with God strengthened your perception. You are seeing differently now. Tonight, something will confirm what your spirit has already suspected. It may be minor in appearance, but major in meaning. Pay attention to timing. Pay attention to tone. Pay attention to sudden defensiveness if you say very little. Guilt often reveals itself through overreaction. Yet you must remain composed. This is not a night for accusation. It is a night for recognition. Recognition changes how you move forward. It adjusts how much access you allow, and shifts how deeply you share. It refines your inner circle without dramatic announcements. The house being watched represents your sacred space, your peace, your plans, your vulnerabilities. And God is serious about guarding what belongs to you. Something else is happening beneath the surface. The enemy hoped that if you felt watched long enough, you would shrink, that you would become cautious in a fearful way, that you would dim your light to avoid attention. But instead of shrinking, you became spiritually alert, and that alertness is strength. Archangel Michael's assignment around you is not temporary panic. It is strategic covering. There is a reason this warning came before midnight. Because after tonight, a new chapter begins in how you protect your environment. You will become more selective with information, more aware of patterns, more confident in your intuition. And this shift will not come from suspicion. It will come from wisdom. Wisdom feels different than fear. Fear is restless. Wisdom is steady. Fear accuses randomly. Wisdom observes quietly. Fear isolates. Wisdom filters. And you are being elevated into wisdom. As the clock continues to move, stay calm. If something unusual unfolds, respond with patience. If nothing dramatic appears, do not assume nothing happened. Some exposures are internal. Some victories are invisible. The fact that you were warned means something has already been intercepted. Trust that. Because tonight is less about external drama and more about internal awakening. The watcher may not be removed instantly from your surroundings, but their influence is weakening. Their ability to predict you is fading. Their confidence in accessing your vulnerability is dissolving. And that is the real shock. You are no longer spiritually accessible in the way you once were. The house is guarded. The atmosphere is fortified. The timing has shifted. And as this unfolds, prepare yourself. Because once exposure begins, a separation phase follows. And what separates from you will create space for something greater to enter. Steadfast heart, the hour is approaching, and what has been building quietly is now pressing against the surface. You may feel an unusual stillness right now, almost like the air is holding its breath. That stillness is not emptiness. It is anticipation. When God declares a final warning, the spiritual realm responds with precision. Movements that were hidden begin to hesitate. Plans that were forming begin to lose coordination. The watcher who once felt confident now feels uncertain. This is the turning point. Something about tonight carries a spiritual deadline. Before midnight marks a new page, heaven is completing an exposure cycle. And you are standing at the center of it, not as a victim, but as someone being strategically protected. You may notice small disruptions. Perhaps someone who usually communicates with you frequently becomes unusually quiet. Or someone who rarely reaches out suddenly tries to engage in an urgent conversation. Pay attention to unusual timing. Exposure often reveals itself through miscalculated urgency. The shocking thing that will happen tonight may not explode loudly. It may unfold quietly but powerfully. A statement may slip out that contradicts earlier claims. A reaction may reveal insecurity. A detail may surface that does not align with the story you were told before. These are not random fragments. They are puzzle pieces aligning. Archangel Michael's presence signals that truth is being enforced. When divine protection surrounds your house, deception struggles to remain stable. The spiritual pressure around you is not to harm you, but to collapse false structures. There has been someone observing your emotional rhythm, watching when you feel strong and when you feel tired, watching when you are confident and when you are vulnerable. The intention was to approach during weakness. But tonight, weakness is not accessible, because awareness changed the equation. You are no longer unaware of the atmosphere around you, and awareness shifts power. If something unfolds that feels uncomfortable, resist the urge to immediately confront. Let truth reveal itself fully. Sometimes exposure needs space to complete itself. When someone realizes their hidden intentions are no longer hidden, they begin to reveal even more without realizing it. You may sense a sudden clarity about someone's role in your life. It might not be dramatic. It might simply feel like a quiet decision forming inside you. A boundary becoming clear. A distance becoming necessary. That is not overreaction. That is wisdom emerging. This is also a moment to guard your words. Speak carefully tonight. Share selectively. You are not being secretive, you are being discerning. When heaven draws a protective circle, your cooperation strengthens it. Remember, this warning is not rooted in fear. It is rooted in timing. There are seasons where everything feels open and collaborative. And then there are seasons where filtering becomes necessary. You are entering a filtering season. The watcher around your house underestimated your spiritual sensitivity. They believed they could observe long enough to understand you completely. But God intervened before observation turned into influence. As midnight approaches, there may be a final attempt to test your emotional reaction. Perhaps a provoking comment. Perhaps a subtle criticism disguised as advice. Perhaps a surprising revelation that feels slightly unsettling. Stay composed. The test is not about what they say. It is about how you respond. Calm response signals strength. If this message is resonating with you right now, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video so more people can receive timely warnings before their own midnight moments. Share it with someone you trust who may also need spiritual clarity. Comment what you are sensing in your spirit, because your testimony strengthens others who are quietly experiencing similar situations. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing circle of discernment. And if you feel led, join the membership to stand even closer to these messages as they unfold. What is being revealed here is bigger than one person's story. As the final minutes before midnight move closer, something subtle but undeniable will crystallize. You will either see a clear sign externally, or you will experience a deep internal confirmation. Do not dismiss it. That confirmation is the evidence that heaven moved before the clock turned. And once the hour passes, you will notice something different. The tension will ease. The confusion will reduce. The energy around you will feel lighter. That is because something that once lingered without permission has now been addressed. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a cleaner environment. And what happens after midnight will prove that this was not a random warning. It was divine strategy unfolding exactly on time. Courageous soul, the line has been crossed, and something has shifted. Whether you noticed it externally or felt it internally, the moment before midnight carried a silent confrontation in the unseen realm. What had been circling your house no longer moves with the same confidence. The atmosphere has changed, and if you pay close attention, you can sense the difference. There is a lighter quality in the air, yet at the same time, a sharp clarity in your thoughts. But clarity is the aftermath of exposure. Something that once felt vague now feels defined. Something that once seemed confusing now appears structured. This is what happens when divine light presses into hidden areas. The shocking event that was warned about may have manifested subtly. It may have been a conversation that revealed too much. A reaction that did not match the situation. A sudden emotional outburst that exposed insecurity. Or perhaps nothing dramatic occurred outwardly, but inside you, a powerful realization took root. Do not underestimate that inner shift. Sometimes the greatest exposure is the moment you stop doubting your own discernment. For a while, you questioned yourself. You wondered if you were imagining the feeling of being watched. You debated whether certain behaviors from others were harmless or strategic. You told yourself not to overthink. But now something inside you feels settled. The doubt is dissolving. Archangel Michael's assignment around your house was not only about stopping something external. It was about strengthening something internal. Your spiritual perception have been sharpened. Your boundaries have become clearer. And your peace is no longer negotiable. The watcher who studied you depended on predictability. They depended on your openness. They depended on your consistent transparency. But now, there is a new layer of wisdom covering you. You are still kind but not easily accessible. You are still loving but not easily influenced. That is the shift. And here is something important to understand. Exposure does not always remove someone instantly from your life. Sometimes it simply changes how much access they have. You may still interact with the same people. You may still move in the same environments. But your awareness alters the dynamic completely. You will notice yourself sharing less sensitive information. You will notice yourself pausing before responding emotionally. You will notice yourself observing more carefully before trusting deeply. That is not fear. That is maturity. There was a reason this had to happen before midnight. Midnight symbolizes transition. And you have transitioned. The house that was being watched is no longer spiritually open in the same way. The perimeter has been reinforced. You may also notice that the person who was observing you begins to act differently in the coming days. When someone senses they have been seen, they often attempt to recalibrate. They may try to appear more supportive. They may attempt to gain reassurance. They may subtly test whether you noticed anything. You do not need to reveal your awareness. Silence can be powerful. Let your change in behavior speak without announcement. Let your boundaries form quietly. When someone no longer has full access to your emotional landscape, they feel the distance immediately. There is also a deeper spiritual layer unfolding. The enemy hoped that observation would lead to intimidation. That feeling watched would lead you to shrink your vision. But instead of shrinking, you became protected. Instead of withdrawing in fear, you expanded in discernment. That is victory. Archangel Michael's role in this season is not dramatic spectacle. It is strategic guardianship. And guardianship often works invisibly. The fact that you feel clear rather than chaotic proves that protection was effective. You may now begin to see small confirmations over the next few days. Patterns that once repeated will break. Conversations that once felt draining will lose intensity. Situations that once felt heavy will begin to feel lighter. These are signs that the watcher's influence has weakened. But remain vigilant in wisdom. Do not return to complete openness too quickly. When God reveals something, it is an invitation to adjust. Adjustment protects you from future manipulation. The shocking part of tonight was not destruction. It was revelation. and revelation is mercy. It is better to know than to remain unaware. It is better to adjust early than to repair later. You are given a final warning because something valuable is approaching your life. A new opportunity, a new connection, a new responsibility. And before that arrives, your environment had to be purified. The house had to be secured. Now that the shift has occurred, a new season begins quietly, one marked by sharper intuition, calmer reactions, and stronger spiritual authority. And what comes next will show you why this exposure was necessary for the greater elevation that is preparing to enter your life. Anointed One, now that the line has been crossed and the hidden tension has surfaced, you are entering the most important phase of this entire warning. Exposure is not the end. It is preparation. What happened around your house before midnight was not simply about revealing a watcher. It was about repositioning you for what is about to arrive. When God removes silent observation, He creates space for divine visitation. And you must understand this clearly. Something new is approaching your life, and it required your environment to be cleansed first. The reason someone was watching your house was not only curiosity or insecurity. It was because they sensed movement around you. They sensed change. They sensed that you were not going to remain at the same level. And when people sense elevation coming, they either align with it or attempt to monitor it. Monitoring is often a sign of intimidation. But intimidation has no power over divine promotion. Archangel Michael's involvement in this season signals that your next step carries weight. You are not transitioning into something small. You are stepping into influence that requires spiritual security. And security begins at home, both physically and spiritually. Since the shift occurred, you may feel a strange mixture of relief and seriousness. Relief because something hidden has been addressed. Seriousness because you sense responsibility increasing. That is not imagination. When heaven guards your house this intensely, it is because your house will host something significant. Your ideas are expanding. Your spiritual sensitivity is growing. Your vision is becoming clear. And the enemy does not attack what is stagnant. He watches what is moving. But now the watching has backfired. Instead of gaining advantage, the observer has revealed themselves. Instead of gaining insight into your weakness, they expose their own instability. And that exposure has strengthened you. In the coming days, you may notice a subtle separation occurring. Not necessarily dramatic distance, but a natural drifting of energies. Conversations that once felt frequent may decrease. Access that once felt automatic may require effort. That is not loss. It is divine filtering. When God filters your circle, He does it quietly. There is something else happening beneath the surface. The very act of you responding to this warning with awareness has activated greater, angelic protection around your life. Archangel Michael's assignment does not disappear the moment exposure happens. It remains through transition. And transition is where many people make mistakes. After a warning passes, some relax too quickly. They assume everything is permanently settled. But wisdom continues beyond the moment of crisis. Stay observant. Stay grounded. I'm fearful but focused. You have entered a season where your peace is valuable currency. Do not spend it cheaply. If someone attempts to re-enter your inner space without accountability, pause. If someone dismisses your boundaries as unnecessary, observe. Your discernment is sharper now for a reason. The shocking event of tonight was a spiritual checkpoint. It confirmed that you are seen by heaven. It confirmed that your house is not unguarded. It confirmed that what concerns you also concerns God. Now comes the elevation. Because once hidden agendas are exposed, true alliances become clearer. You will begin to recognize who genuinely supports you. You will feel drawn toward those who bring calm rather than confusion. This is alignment beginning to form. But alignment requires courage. It requires you to accept that not everyone who had access before deserves access now. And that is not arrogance. It is stewardship. You are stewarding your peace. You are stewarding your growth. You are stewarding the destiny that required angelic intervention. Type in the comments, "My house is covered and my future is secure," if this confirmation resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 808 has just been activated over your household. As you declare that, understand that heaven responds to agreement. The words you speak seal what hath been shifted. Now hear this final layer carefully. The Watcher was never your greatest threat. Your own doubt was. If you had ignored this warning, you would have continued second-guessing yourself. But now your confidence in divine guidance is stronger. That confidence will carry you into your next season. As this chapter closes and you stand in the security of what God has done tonight, let this moment become more than awareness. Let it become action. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are releasing light into other homes standing on the edge of their own midnight. Scripture declares, "Rise and shine, for your light has come." This is that rising. As you give, you become part of the oil that keeps this flame burning for souls who need warning before it is too late. I feel led to say this. I am not just watching this message. I am helping carry it. Move now in obedience. Let your seed speak protection over your own house. And as you act, may open heavens respond over your life with multiplied peace and guarded doors. Strong one, what you are experiencing now is the settling after a spiritual storm that never fully reached you. There was movement in the unseen. There was pressure building. There were intentions forming. But because you were warned, because you aligned with protection before the critical hour, the impact was intercepted. Now you are standing in the quiet aftermath of something that could have gone differently. You may not even realize how much was diverted. Sometimes protection feels subtle because destruction never rhymes. But just because you did not see chaos does not mean there was no battle. Archangel Michael does not announce every defense. Some victories are silent. Some swords are lifted in realms your eyes cannot see. What matters is this. You are clearer than you were before. Since midnight passed, there is a sharpening in your perception. You notice tone more accurately. You sense intention more quickly. You detect shifts in energy that you once ignored. That is not hyper-awareness. That is refinement. The Watcher who once studied your house is now uncertain of their position. They may attempt to resume normal behavior, but something has changed. You have changed. And when awareness enters a relationship dynamic, it can never fully return to its previous state. You will begin to see patterns differently. Moments that once felt small now appear significant. Comments that once seemed harmless now reveal undertones. It is not that you are becoming suspicious. It is that you are becoming discerning. Discernment does not accuse without evidence. He observes without anxiety. And this is where your strength must grow. Because after exposure comes testing. The one who was watching may attempt to subtly test whether you truly noticed anything. They may attempt to draw out your reaction. They may look for reassurance that their access remains intact. Do not over-explain yourself. Do not rush to prove trust. Let your new boundaries stand quietly. Boundaries do not need speeches. The shocking part of this entire warning was never about a dramatic incident. It was about a hidden strategy being brought into light before it matured. If that strategy had continued unnoticed, it could have influenced your decisions, your relationships, even your direction. But now influence has been disrupted. Archangel Michael's assignment over your house marked a turning point. When divine authority enters your environment, manipulation loses ground, and what once seemed subtle becomes obvious. There is another layer unfolding that you must understand. When a watcher is exposed, they often experience discomfort internally. That discomfort can manifest as irritation, distance, or even overcompensation. Be prepared for shifts in behavior, not because you should fear them, but because awareness prevents surprise. If someone grows distant, let them. If someone becomes overly attentive, observe calmly. You are not reacting emotionally anymore. You are moving strategically. This season is about strengthening your internal structure. Your emotional foundation must become less reactive and more rooted. Because elevation requires stability. You were warned before midnight because something valuable is approaching, and that value required a protected environment. Imagine building something precious in a room where someone constantly observes your progress with hidden intention. That environment breeds tension. But now the room has been cleared. Your house, both physical and spiritual, is entering a guarded phase. Peace will begin to feel more consistent. Conversations will become more intentional. You will sense a decrease in subtle pressure that once lingered in the background. That is not coincidence. That is the fruit of divine intervention. But do not mistake calm for passivity. Stay spiritually attentive. Continue praying over your environment. Continue being mindful of what you share and with whom. Protection is strongest when maintained. There is also something beautiful happening within you. Confidence is rising. Not loud confidence, but quiet assurance. You are beginning to trust your spiritual instincts more. You are realizing that the subtle nudges you feel are not random emotions. They are guidance. That trust will carry you forward. Because what is coming next in your life requires you to trust your perception without constant external validation. The Watcher incident was a training ground. It sharpened your ability to sense misalignment early, and that skill will save you from future complications. You are no longer easily accessible to hidden agendas. You are no longer casually open to everyone's influence. You are becoming selective with your inner circle, and that selectiveness is protection. The house that was once observed is now fortified. The final warning was not about fear. It was about formation. And as this new clarity settles into your life, you are being positioned for an opportunity that would have been vulnerable without this awakening. Stay grounded. Stay wise. Because what comes next will reveal why this entire sequence of warning, exposure, and protection was necessary for your elevation. Faithful guardian of your own house, what you thought was the end of a warning was actually the beginning of a commissioning. You were not only protected, you were prepared. Since the night of exposure, something inside you has matured. Your reactions are slower but wiser. Your words are fewer but stronger. Your spirit feels less scattered and more anchored. This is not accidental growth. It is the result of pressure refining you instead of breaking you. The one who was watching your house has realized something shifted. They may not fully understand what happened, but they can sense distance where there was once openness. And that distance is not hostility. It is discernment. You are no longer energetically available to subtle manipulation. There is power in that sentence. For a long time, you gave people the benefit of the doubt even when your spirit hesitated. You dismissed red flags to preserve peace. You ignored intuition to maintain comfort. But now comfort is no longer your highest priority. Clarity is. Archangel Michael's presence in the season was not dramatic theater. It was strategic guardianship. He stands where destiny is forming, and destiny has been forming quietly inside your house. There is an opportunity approaching your life that requires emotional stability. It requires that you not be easily shaken by external opinions. It requires that your environment not be compromised by hidden agendas. That is why the watcher had to be exposed before the opportunity arrives. Because if someone had access to your vulnerabilities while you step into elevation, they could have subtly redirected you. But that door has closed. Now you may notice that conversations feel different. You may sense that certain people measure their words around you more carefully. That is because awareness changes dynamics. When someone knows you see clearly, they adjust. Do not misuse this clarity. Do not become suspicious of everyone. Wisdom does not turn into paranoia. It turns into selective trust. There is a difference. The shocking part of this entire sequence was how quietly it unfolded. No dramatic confrontation, and no visible conflict. Just subtle exposure and internal confirmation. That is how divine protection often works. It prevents what you never even realize was forming fully. And here is something you must embrace. You are becoming spiritually influential. Your awareness is not just for your own safety. It is preparation for leadership. When you can sense misalignment early, you can protect others later. This is why your house had to be secured first. Because a leader with an unguarded environment becomes vulnerable to sabotage. But a leader who has faced subtle observation and come out wiser becomes unshakable. As you step forward from this warning, do not isolate yourself in silence. Engage with this message. If this word strengthened you, like this video so others who feel watched or uncertain can find clarity. Share it with someone who needs spiritual reassurance before their own turning point. Comment what shifted inside you during this season, because your experience may unlock someone else's understanding. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because what is unfolding in your life is part of a larger spiritual journey. And if you feel led, join the membership to walk deeper into this circle of awareness and protection. What happened in your house is a reminder that heaven still intervenes. There is one more layer to understand. The watcher was never your ultimate enemy. Distraction was. If you had remained focused on fear, you would have missed the preparation happening beneath the surface. But instead of spiraling, you stood still. Instead of panicking, you prayed. Instead of accusing, you observed. The posture strengthened you. Now, the energy around your house feels more stable. The atmosphere feels cleaner. Your thoughts feel less clouded. That is because influence has been reduced. The next chapter of your life will require bold steps. Decisions that once felt risky will begin to feel possible. Ideas that once seemed distant will begin to feel tangible. And because your environment is guarded, you can move forward without second-guessing every reaction around you. You were warned because you are advancing. And advancement requires protection. What happened before midnight was not a scare tactic from heaven. It was a strategic alert to prepare you for expansion. Expansion is coming. Influence is coming. Responsibility is coming. And now you are strong enough to carry it without hidden interference. Stay steady, because the final layer of this revelation will show you how this protection connects directly to the door that is about to open in your life. And when that door opens, you will understand fully why someone had been watching your house in the first place. Awakened one, you are standing at the edge of understanding the full picture. What felt like a warning about someone watching your house was actually a revelation about who you are becoming. The observation was never random. The tension was never meaningless. The exposure was never accidental. All of it was connected to the door that is now quietly forming in front of you. You may have started noticing it already. A new idea stirring in your mind. A new opportunity appearing in conversation. A subtle shift in how others perceive you. Something is aligning, and alignment requires security. If your house had remained spiritually unguarded, if hidden agendas had continued observing your patterns, the next level could have been compromised before it even began. But God does not allow promotion without preparation. That is why the warning came first. Archangel Michael's presence around your environment was not simply defensive. It was transitional. When heaven prepares to elevate someone, it fortifies their perimeter. Not because elevation attracts applause, but because elevation attracts attention. And attention without protection becomes pressure. The watcher sensed you were changing. They sensed your confidence stabilizing. They sensed your decisions becoming firmer. They sensed your emotional reactions becoming less predictable. And when someone can no longer predict you, they lose control. A loss of control is what created their discomfort. But your growth was never about controlling others. It was about mastering yourself. And that mastery is what makes you ready for what is coming. The shocking part of this journey is this. The very thing that felt threatening was actually confirmation of your value. People do not study what they consider insignificant. They observe what they believe carries weight. Your life carries weight. There is a responsibility rising within you. You may not have fully accepted it yet, but it is there. You are being shaped into someone who influences atmosphere rather than being influenced by it. Someone who detects misalignment early. Someone who protects peace intentionally. That is leadership. And leadership often begins in the privacy of your own house. Since the exposure before midnight, you have become quieter in certain areas. More reflective. More measured. This is not withdrawal. It is consolidation. You are consolidating your energy. You are becoming intentional with your time. You are filtering information before responding. That is maturity unfolding. You may also notice that certain relationships feel different now. Not broken but redefined. Not hostile but adjusted. When awareness enters a connection, innocence leaves. And that is not always negative. It simply means you see clearly now. The watcher may attempt subtle reconciliation. They may try to regain comfort. But comfort without accountability does not restore trust. Trust now requires alignment. You are no longer operating from blind generosity. You are operating from wise generosity. And that shift protects your future. Because what is approaching your life is not small. It may come in the form of opportunity, partnership, recognition, or responsibility. But when it arrives, you will not be easily swayed by external opinions. Your environment will not be vulnerable to hidden influence. This was the purpose of the warning. The house had to be secured before the door could open. There is something powerful about knowing you were protected before danger fully formed. It builds confidence. It strengthens faith. It deepens your understanding that you are not navigating life alone. Archangel Michael's assignment in this season has reinforced the truth. You are covered when you are aligned. But coverage does not remove wisdom. It enhances it. Going forward, remain aware but not anxious. Continue guarding your inner space. Continue praying over your environment. Continue trusting the subtle nudges in your spirit. Those nudges are not random emotions. They are guidance refined through experience. You have moved from being watched to being aware, and awareness is authority. The final layer of this message will reveal how this entire sequence connects to your destiny unfolding beyond your house. Because what was happening around your walls was only a small reflection of something much larger being prepared in your life. Stay ready, because the conclusion of this warning will not focus on fear or exposure. It will focus on positioning. And when you see the positioning clearly, you will understand why heaven said this was not a drill. Chosen vessel, this is the final unveiling. When God said, "Final warning, someone is watching your house," this is not a drill. Something shocking will happen tonight, and if you ignore this, it will be too late. It was never about panic. It was about positioning. Now you can see the full circle. The watcher was real. The tension was real. The midnight shift was real. What the greater reality was this: you were never unprotected. What felt like surveillance was actually a signal that your life had entered a higher level of relevance. What felt unsettling was actually confirmation that movement was happening around you. And what felt urgent was heaven accelerating your awareness before your elevation. The shocking thing that happened was not destruction. It was revelation. It was the collapse of hidden access. It was the interruption of subtle influence. It was the strengthening of your discernment. And that shock has now transformed into clarity. Look at yourself now. You are more grounded than before. You are more selective than before. You are more confident in your spiritual instincts than before. That is not coincidence. That is transformation. Archangel Michael's involvement in this season was not symbolic. It represented enforcement. It represented divine boundaries being drawn around your destiny. When heaven assigns that level of protection, it means what you carry cannot be casually accessed. Your house is no longer just a physical location. It is a guarded territory. Your mind is no longer easily influenced. Your emotions are no longer easily manipulated. Your peace is no longer negotiable. And now the door that was forming is ready to open. You will begin to see opportunities align with your new level of clarity. Conversations will feel different. Decisions will feel cleaner. The confusion that once lingered around you will decrease. That is because you are moving forward without hidden observation influencing your direction. The warning was urgent because delay would have cost you awareness. And awareness was the key. If you had ignored the nudge, dismissed the intuition, or scrolled past this message, you might have remained accessible to subtle interference. But you did not ignore it. You listened. You aligned. You stood in protection before midnight. And that obedience shifted everything. The enemy's strategy was quiet observation leading to quiet influence. But God's strategy was loud awareness leading to strong authority. You now walk with authority. Do not go backward into overexposure. Do not reopen doors that heaven has filtered. Do not doubt the clarity you gain. Trust what was revealed. Guard what has been secured. This was never about living in fear. It was about stepping into wisdom. And wisdom will now carry you into a season of growth that does not feel heavy, pressured, or monitored. You will feel stable, intentional, protected. The house that was watched is now fortified. The life that was observed is now elevated. The midnight that carried tension has passed, and a new morning is forming. Type in the comments, "My house is sealed and my destiny is protected," if you receive this word. Blessing code 911 has just been released as a seal over your household. Let that declaration mark the end of fear and the beginning of confidence. And now hear this final truth. This message reached you because heaven still speaks. It reached you because protection still moves. It reached you because your life matters enough to be warned before it is tested. As this final revelation settles in your spirit, Do not let this fire stop with you. When you release a super thanks, join the membership, or so through the PayPal link in the description. You are not funding a channel. You are building a watchtower that warns souls before their midnight hour. The Lord declares, I have set watchmen on your walls who will never be silent. Today you become part of that wall. I am not just receiving this message. I am helping carry God's warning to other houses. Your seed becomes oil that keeps this light burning, manna that feeds those standing on the edge of confusion. Move now in obedience, not hesitation. Seal your agreement through action, and may the same protection that covered your house multiply over your life as you give.